Welcome back to our continued coverage of the penultimate round of the Africa Off-Road Championship race season. This time, Kleinbroek event brought to you by N1 4x4 Cruiser and Toyota four-wheel drive experts. So as the cars get themselves ready, eyeing up the terrain, it was going to be dry, it was going to be dusty. A nice little driver's briefing telling them what to watch out for and hopefully have a nice, good, fun time before they get into the cars. Remember, the bikes and quads had already done it. They'd been out there on the big circuit, and now it was the turn of the cars that has seen continual growth event to event. And the penultimate round, everyone was starting to get a little bit twitchy because, of course, the 2017 championship was up for grabs. First, a small formality of getting the prize giving out of the way for the Corsica event, held just a couple of weeks back. And while everyone was still all smiles, we caught up with some drivers and co-drivers in the pits.
Hi, I'm Gerry Prinsloo.
I'm Francois van der Walt. I just want to start to say thank you very much to all our sponsors, our team manager Jan-Ray Kasselman from Burkas, Cesar Bantu, NTT Nissan, Rauco, Semcrete, Strata Lab, Friedrich Kasselman. For you guys, thank you very much. Without of your input into this, it won't be possible.
Thank you very much. We hope to enjoy this day here in the sun in the northwest, and we're going to enjoy it. Thanks.
Hi there, I'm Dion Mearns, and this is Sean Sutherland. We're here from Vereeniging. We've made the trip up here, and it's our first race of the year, so we've left a little bit late. Yeah, it's going to be a warm one. It's going to be very, very dusty, and yeah, what do you think, buddy? Yeah, I'm not sure. We're going to have to see how it goes, but yeah, it's going to be very warm, very, very dusty. Yeah, we'll just have to see how it goes. A nice little shot there of the guys before they get their helmets on. That's Johnny and Michael Walker. Let's see if it's going to be all smiles as they open up the race circuit for us today. Had a little bit of an up and down season, the B1, a couple of flats, some mechanicals, and open up the racetrack, especially at the early part of this circuit. It's very, very tight. Doesn't open up for a while. Some great shots here just to show how tricky it is to be able to see all the lumps and bumps. Remember, on the bikes and quads, you're able to stand high. You can see exactly what's going on. But when you're sitting in the seat, you are ultra reliant on markings as well as the call from your navigator next to you. Master Jacobs and Nazir Tate, they've had an incredible second half of this season. They haven't been in it to win it the whole way through the year, but certainly the second half of this season, the unstoppable Landy has been in great nick. Maybe not always the fastest car out there, but able to bring home championship points and results every single time. Hendrik Reinikers, junior and senior. This is an aggressive pair, and they are going to be strong to watch out for in the E category. The E40 is going to be a tough car to beat. Not a massive lineup in the E category this time around. The majority of the production vehicles running in the Ds. The E7, though, that will be doing the chase down will be Charmaine van Asviken and Carleen Croshaw. This may be a track that suits their more tentative style of driving. You can see it's more like a 4x4 track than it is a off-road championship in the early stages. Nico Durant and JG Klaassen, well, these side-by-sides have made a lot of noise about them throughout the season. And the teams coming out of Waterworld, very, very strong. Most of the time, they are the team to beat, and they'll be looking for another win in their standalone side-by-side category. Werner and Michael Mostert, these guys are super aggressive in their car. They set their car up a little bit softer than the rest of the cars because they tend to do the snowmobile style of driving. They like to just bury it into the corners and allow the car to find ultimate traction. In the B class, you'll find a lot of the single-seaters. Akil Jacobs is going to be a hard man to beat as he goes out in his 28 machine. Do like to give these guys a big high five as well on the television commentary when we see them. It is a long day and a lonely day by yourself. Julio and Ethan Ferreira, they're coming back from some problems on their machine a couple of races back, but the P55, if they have a good day, they are potential race winners in the Class Ps, and they're definitely going to be a tough team to beat. They seem to have a good setup in their car the last couple of events. And the Radnet machine is going to be an absolute pinner today. Selfie van Schalkwyk and Arthur Croshaw love this car. The B100, there's been a lot of talk lately about the Baja that's been happening across the pond in the US of A. And this is our very own VW Baja race spec There's around about 5 of these still in race spec kicking around on SA and Botswana soil. Wayne Smith and Peter Fourie, they'll be going for a Class D championship win today in the D26, and they're going to have big competition. Francois van der Walt and Gerry Prinsloo are going to be pushing them hard the whole way through the day, as well as Kobus, Rousseau and Fonnie Botha. A stall out early on, that's not going to help. It gets going again though, maybe just a little bit heavy on the fuelage. That's sloshing around in the tanks, but this pairing will be able to maybe close things down early on due to that mistake. Van der Walt and Prinsloo, we caught up with them earlier in the pits. They seemed in confident form. And a big high five to all their sponsors. They're going to want to end off the season on a high. Remember, as this is the penultimate round of the championship, this is the time when everyone wants to get that ink and get sponsors re-signed for 2018. Gert and Madeleine Steyn, they'll be going out in the Z category, the Z1. In fact, the only Z1 racing out there as well. But what they will try and do is put a cat amongst the pigeons and try and close down on some of the Class D, Class S and Class E cars ahead of them. Sparks Morrison, another one of our single-seaters, the B category 61. Wow. Very cool to see these guys still out there. In fact, the most competitive category at this event. 9 Class Bs lined up all in all. And this category isn't too far behind as well. A massive lineup of side-by-sides. The G21 of Vickers Haasbroek, though, having some problems early on. And that allows Peter Walter and Sean van der Villiers a very uncommonly easy pass. The problem then is going to be just taking dust early on and facefuls of it. Vickers Haasbroek and Keith Smith are going to have a very uncomfortable lap number 1. At least they'll have someone to follow and chase down. But remember, the side-by-sides don't have screens, don't have aircon, don't have windscreen wipers. It's coming straight into your face. Alec Abbott in the B53. Third of the Class B vehicles going on out there. And like we say, 9 vehicles all in all, making this the most raceable category. Once you find a gear anyway. Whoa, oh, it's in there somewhere. Alright, we're up and running, and he heads on out. The B22, the side-by-side version. Johan Lloyd and Arnold Theron. They will have an advantage. Remember, in the Class Bs, it's all about the power and the suspension coming out of the vehicles. But when you've got a navigator, things get that much easier. In the A category, the A25 with Dion Boyens and Zane Swanepoel. They've got a couple of vehicles to choose from as well. So it's cool to see them out there in one of the older category bats. And they'll be chased down by, well, I wouldn't like these guys chasing me. Kobus and Marinda Fourie. One of the most aggressive pairings on the tour. And one of the winningest pairings on the 2017 season. The A11. An unstoppable machine right now. Rickers Prinsloo and Tian Prinsloo. Normally Leila Lam in the side seat. So at least the passenger seat will smell nice. For a while anyway. Good luck to the boys as they go and do the chase down. Also a very aggressive pairing. The B11 of Johan Besson. Making up yet another entry in the ultra-competitive B category. The single-seater special modified vehicles, very thin as well, so it's going to be nice when you come through the technical zones. It's in the wide open stuff where the track isn't as wide on the vehicles, where they tend to push the front end a little bit. Dion Moens and Sean Sutherland, we caught up with these lads in the pits earlier on. And they're going to see what they can do heading on out there into the fields around Kleinbroek. Just inside of the Free State border, between Northwest and Free State, and ultra sandy. Roddy Cook, David Huddy, Craig Parkin and Ed Jackson are going to be sharing duties in the Dave Huddy Hud Speed Nissan Navara. This should be a very competitive machine. We do tend to find that the Africa off-roads don't have the long straights, so even though they're a Class S vehicle, they should be able to hold their own in the tech zones. The second of our Baja, or Badger Bugs, as they used to be called in the 80s, Fahim and Joe Jacobs in the F15. I got a new favorite car. It's like Herbie on steroids, this one. Very fun vehicles, like we said, there's around about 5 of these in full race prep. And they're an absolute jewel, they really are. Shafi and Shaquille Jacobs crowbarred into the B34 machine. Maybe a little bit of WD-40 wouldn't go amiss on some of those links. That thing is squeaking early on and it hasn't even got dry yet. Cobus Rousseau and Fani Buerta in the D1. This is going to be a very, very strong drive. They'll be looking for a Class D win. Remember, they're going to be chasing down on Francois van der Walt and Gerry Prinsloo for this win today. Similar spec vehicle to the Hudspeed. Another Nissan Navara, but this time in a different category. Picking up on the side-by-sides then as we head to the end of lap number 1 and head out to our commercial break. Join us as we come back as racing gets hotter and a little bit more dusty.
Streets that are not burdened by the noise of automobiles and also with less pollution. That is our future, thanks to electromobility. And a car that already does that today is the C30 made by Volvo. Along with the Mitsubishi e-MiEV, it was the first car to operate solely on electrical power. There is no gas combustion engine in it, nor is there a range extender. Since 2010, the Swedes have been working to build the purely electric car.
My name is Yogi Cameron. I used to be a supermodel and lived in a world focused on outer beauty. But I gave it all up when I looked inside and found my true calling, teaching and living the ancient practices of Ayurveda and yoga. I know the body has the ability to heal itself naturally. We just need a guru to show us the way.
Coming up, they struggle to even start their cars. And they're not very good at stopping them either. As always, we'll be looking to our judges to help decide who's shoddy and who's downright shiversome.
Alright, so back into racing and back out into the furthest points of the field where the track starts to really open up. We'll pick up on the action here as Francois van der Walt and Gerry Prinsloo get closed down by Johnny and Mikey Walker. In fact, it was the other way around there. Francois van der Walt and Gerry Prinsloo making the pass on Johnny and Mikey. This is what we tend to see. So that was our first car out, now getting demoted into second place, but of course still leading within their category. Now the D33 of Francois van der Walt and Gerry Prinsloo. They are now first wheel and they have to open up the track. Julian and Ethan Ferreira, third wheel and running first in the Ps as well. So they're doing a very nice job there. And I hope I haven't done the commentator's curse because they have had a clean last couple of races since they had their problems on the LoadNet machine. Just want to see them finish off the year on a nice high. Peter Walter and Sean van der Linde. Remember, they'll be going for a Class G win. The Class Gs is a tough one though, because up the road you're going to have to chase down on Nico Durant and JG Klaassen. Sifi van Skalkwyk and Arthur Croshaw. The B100, incredibly, because of the age of the vehicle and the capacity of the engine, it does fit into the B category. Remember how far back Cobus and Marinda started? Well, they are really flying now, making passes left, right and center. Muster Jacobs and Nazir Tate getting sent out the back door, but still looking fairly comfortable in the Class Ds. They would eventually go on to try and maintain a top 3 in the Class Ds. At the time though, at this point in the track, they were running in 4th place. Rickus and Tion Prinsloo getting the job done and staying ahead of Dion Boyens and Zane Swanepoel. They were actually running 2nd place behind Cobus and Marinda Ferry. Ronnie Cook and David Huddy, as well as Craig Parkin and Ed Jackson. 2 drivers, 2 co-drivers sharing the joy that is Africa off-road racing. Gert and Madeline Stein also, remember the one and only Z category machine, but they do try and measure themselves up against some of the Class E and Class D vehicles as well. One of the ones they'll measure themselves up again, and they'll probably be the next one to come and pass them, Cobus Rousseau and Fani Buerta in their D1 machine. revving out for the camera there, but working hard in the sand. Wayne Smith and Peter Fourie treading lightly in the D26. What we do tend to find in sand racing like this is the gearboxes take an absolute beat. Nico Durant absolutely pinned wide open there, trying to get the job done with J.G. Klaassen, with Francois van der Walt and Gerry Prinsloo. So that means that the side-by-side is now front of the queue, leading in the Class Gs, and out front plying the field for the rest. Peter Walter, he's now been demoted down into the 2 spot, or remains in the 2 spot, should I say, in the G66 with Sean de Villiers. Out into the open sections here as well. Going through those gates. I even pull my elbows in when I watch these guys do that. The A11 of Kobus and Marinda Fourie, they're going to be really holding their breath. Watch how tight this gets. This is a Class A V8 powered machine, just squeezing their way through an open gate there. You think there's plenty of room, but it does get a little bit tight. Johnny and Mikey Walker, remember they opened up our racing accounts a little bit earlier on. And this is a first-hand view of how things look going through one of the bomb holes. Very thin on the edge of the track. In between, you can see if you put a foot wrong on the right-hand side, you're going to be up and over. So it's not all about wide open, flat-out racing. You've got to be technical, and you've got to really be a measured driver at times. Matthew Jacobs and Nazir Tate, they'll be loving the slower, more technical side of this track, and it really is a 50-50 split, where it's not flat-out wide open, it's very slow, very tight, and very tech in the brush. Francois van der Walt and Gerry Prinsloo, leaders in the Class Ds. And one hand on the championship trophy as well. Let's go on board with them and see how tech it gets. Of course, they do talk to each other. We're unfortunately not able to hear those words. Sometimes that's a good thing. Otherwise, we'd have to air this after 9 o'clock at night. But hand signals, always going to help as well. This pair have been in the car for many years now. They know exactly how to operate. The B91 there, Dion Moens and Sean Sutherland, about to get closed down by Huddy Speed. Kobus Rousseau and Fonny Burta as well, trying to see what they can do in the Ds. Remember the Class Ds, Francois van der Walt, Gerry Prinsloo. After that, it'll be Kobus Rousseau and Fonny Burta. And then Musty Jacobs, Wayne Smith. Those are the drivers trying to nail down, not necessarily wins, but top 3s in the Class Ds. Look how tech this is. This is like driving on the beach in Mozambique. Dion Moens and Sean Sutherland. Thin tyres and only rear-wheel drive as well. So that's why they are really battling there. And if you start spinning the tyres too much, you cook the engine and the gearbox. Peter Walter and Sean de Villiers having a great time as we go back on board. This time it is out in one of our single-seaters. Johan Besson, the B11. Just happy to see a little bit of human contact as he heads on out into the fields. Very, very, very dry conditions just outside of Kleinbroek. Huddy Speed in the S14 vehicle, staying ahead at the moment of the E40 of Hendrik Reinicke Jr. and Senior, and that is for the E-Class win. At this point, the Reinickes leading in the E category, ahead of Sharman van Asviken and Colleen Croshaw. On board then, just to show how tight and how wild it can be. Mercifully, the dust is still relatively heavy out there in the Free State here, so it does tend to drop quite quickly and not just hang in the air. Nice open fields, and when we do go into the brush, the dust tends to get blown away quite quickly. So not too much of a problem, especially for our open screens. Dion Boyens and Zane Swanepoel definitely finding their feet and their form and planting their foot. They're Class A, denoting they are running in a V8 powered machine. Into the end of the lap then, and things will start getting super busy in the pits from now on. Most of these cars will do a full refuel before heading out onto their next lap. Johan Besson just showing how tight and tech it can be. Getting a little bit wrong. Didn't see a marker for a while there, but has obviously found his way back on point and comes into the end of the loop and into the pits. Nico Durant and J.G. Klaassen leading in the ultra-competitive Class Gs. Seeing how far back it is to Peter Walter and Sean de Villiers. Not too far at all. Very, very fast pace. So that's the top 2 Class Gs, or side-by-sides, home and safe. Flag is out, and we'll wait to see who is going to pop out next. Marius and Marinda Fourie third wheel and winning out in the special vehicle Class A's in the A11. This pairing were unstoppable at the previous event. A great drive and winning out in the Class P's for Rikus Prinsloo. He's done a very nice job there as well. Had to make a lot of passes out there in the fields to bring it home in that position. So the Freeze home safe and confirming their win as the Prinsloos come on home and almost tag them at the finish line. What a drive there. That just shows how technical the track was as well, that a Class P was able to close things right down on a Class A vehicle. Kubis Rousseau and Fani getting the job done there as well, so they've had a very, very nice drive to get themselves up into that position. As you start to bring home Julio and Ethan Ferreira in the P55, that will confirm them as a second place in the Class Ps. So a nice job for them, and no problems, no commentators curse whatsoever. A rock solid number 2 spot. The B100 of Sifu van Schalkwyk and Arthur Croshaw. A second place in the ultra competitive Class Bs in the first of the bugs. They were beaten out on the event by Johan Besson, and unfortunately the buggy taking a little bit of a limp towards the end there, carrying a flat tyre. Dion Mons and Sean Sutherland at their first race of the season get themselves onto the box with a third place finish. Hendrik Reinicke, junior and senior in the E40. They're going to take the class win in the E category after they've done a little bit of spanner spinning, that is. And they had some overheating problems as well. You can see all those empty bottles just keeping them in the mix. The S14 of Cook, Huddy, Parkin and Jackson, they're going to get the job done and walk away with a nice class victory in the Class S to bring it home safe. And that was Huddy on the sideline there, just taking the pictures and making sure his car is home safe. The Z category, no big surprise with the one and only entry in from the Zs, Gert and Madeleine. Staines bringing it on home for the win. The unstoppable Mark II Toyota. The Reinickers so close to the finish line, get the job done, a new wheel back on point, and as always, our recovery vehicle there to help, a helping hand to anyone who needs it. So the Reinickers home, job done. Even with that late race puncher, unfortunately a DNF for their championship rivals Charmaine van Aswegen and Carleen Croshaw after lap number 1. Here's confirmation then as we break down the results. The special A's, it was Kobus and Marinda Fourie taking the win ahead of Boyens and Swanepoel. In Class P, Rikus and Tion Prinsloo. In the Class B's, it was Sifu van Schalkwyk and Arthur Croshaw ahead of the Walkers. In the Class D's, Francois van der Walt and Gerry Prinsloo, a great drive on the day. And production Class E, Hendrik Reinicke, senior and junior. Class F, Gert and Madeleine Stain, and production Class G, Nico Durant and JG Klaassen. In the Class S, Roddy Cook, Dave Huddy, Craig Parkin and Ed Jackson. And that wraps up all of our coverage from Kleinbroek, our penultimate round of the Africa Off-Road Championship Race Series. 1 round to go.